Elena Ruiz had never expected her assignment to be glamorous. The gate was considered one of the dullest posts on base. Long hours under the sun, scanning IDs, lifting the barrier, and watching convoys of uniformed men and women pass by without so much as a second glance. For someone fresh out of training, she had wanted more action, purpose, something that would prove she wasn't just filling a uniform. But for now, she was just the gate guard. Her friends teased her about it. "You're practically a glorified parking attendant," they'd say, laughing as she tried to smile along. Inside, though, the words stung. She was proud to have earned her place in the Navy, proud to serve, but she couldn't shake the feeling that her commanders didn't see her as capable of more. She reminded herself she was new. Everyone started somewhere. Still, watching the other sailors and Marines move about their assignments left her restless. On a particularly hot morning, sweat prickled under her collar as she adjusted her cap and stood at attention. The desert sun reflected harshly off the concrete. She repeated the mantra her supervisor drilled into her: professionalism at all times, courtesy first, eyes sharp. Vehicles lined up, each requiring inspection. She checked IDs, greeted drivers, and waved them through. Most barely made eye contact. At one point, a gruff officer in a pressed uniform pulled up. He flashed his ID quickly, almost dismissively, as if she were beneath notice. Elena checked carefully anyway, noting the expiration date. Comparing the picture, the officer frowned. "Come on, sailor, I don't have all day." "Regulation requires me to verify, sir," she said, keeping her voice steady. He sighed impatiently until she waved him through. The car sped away, leaving her cheeks burning. She wanted to disappear, but she forced her shoulders back. Rules were rules. The day dragged until late afternoon, when a black SUV approached slowly. Its tinted windows gleamed in the sun. Something about the deliberate pace caught Elena's attention. She stepped forward, holding out her hand. The window lowered, revealing a man in dark sunglasses. His presence filled the air, a calm, commanding, the kind of aura that made people straighten their spines without being told. "Good afternoon, sir," Elena said, snapping into a crisp salute. The man removed his glasses, revealing eyes that carried both sharpness and weariness. He handed her his identification. As her gaze fell on the card, her breath caught. The name was familiar, one spoken with reverence among the ranks. Commander James Alden, a leader of a SEAL team with a reputation for impossible missions. She had only heard stories about him in hushed tones in the mess hall. Her hands trembled slightly as she returned the card. "Welcome aboard, Commander," she said. He studied her for a moment longer than expected, his expression unreadable. Then, without hesitation, he raised his hand and saluted her first. The motion stunned her. For a moment, she wondered if she had misseen it. Commanders didn't salute gate guards first. Protocol dictated the junior saluted first, and if the senior officer returned it, that was an acknowledgement. But this man, this Commander A, had chosen to salute her before she'd even lowered her hand. Her throat tightened. She completed the exchange, lowering her hand after him, unsure if she should say more. He offered a small, almost imperceptible smile before driving through. When the barrier lowered again, Elena stood frozen, her heart pounding. Why would he salute her first? Was it a mistake? Some subtle joke? Number. His eyes hadn't carried mockery. If anything, they carried respect. That night, she lay in her bunk replaying the moment again and again. The commander's gesture was small, fleeting, but it had struck something deep within her. For once, she felt seen, not as just a rookie or a gatekeeper, but as someone worthy of recognition. The following week, the memory still lingered as she reported for duty. A different officer approached the gate, clearly in a hurry. He barely slowed his car, tossing his ID with a curt wave. Elena kept her ground, holding up her hand. "I need to verify, sir." He muttered something under his breath, but she remained steady. The officer finally complied, annoyance etched on his face. Elena felt the usual sting, but beneath it was a new steeliness. She remembered the commander's salute, remembered what it had felt like to be respected, and refused to diminish herself now. Days turned into weeks, and Elena noticed changes in herself. Her posture at the gate grew sharper, her voice steadier, her eyes keener. She greeted each person as if they mattered, but also as if she mattered too. Some began to notice. "You're stricter than most," a senior chief said one morning, half amused, half impressed. She simply smiled. Then, one evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky orange, the black SUV appeared again. Elena's pulse quickened. She stepped forward, prepared, professional. The window rolled down, and Commander Alden looked at her once more. "You're still here," he said, his voice low, almost thoughtful. "Yes, sir. Gate detail this week." He handed her his ID. She verified it with calm precision, then returned it. Again, he saluted her first. This time, Elena met his gaze squarely, her own salute crisp and unwavering. As the SUV pulled through, she realized something. He wasn't saluting her assignment. He was saluting her. The uniform she wore, the discipline she upheld, the dignity she carried even in the smallest role. It wasn't about rank or glamour, it was about presence. That night, Elena's friends teased her again about being stuck at the gate. She only smiled quietly. They didn't understand. Not yet. She had learned something invaluable, that no post was small if you carried it with pride, and that true leaders recognized strength even in the shadows. Months later, when her orders finally came for a transfer into a more active unit, she packed her duffel with steady hands. She knew she had proven herself long before the paperwork arrived, and she carried with her the memory of a commander who had once saluted first, not to flatter, not to shock, but to remind her that respect was earned in every moment, no matter how overlooked. As her bus drove away from the familiar gate, Elena glanced back one last time. The barrier lifted for another car, a young sailor standing tall in her place. Elena smiled softly. Perhaps someday, that sailor too would learn what she had learned. Sometimes the smallest posts carried the greatest lessons, and sometimes, one simple salute could change everything.